Yo, what's up you guys, Vin Tran here, and welcome to the home studio tour / what's in my camera bag 2024. So this is SyncID Studios. So this is actually my mom's house, but I've been here for about 20 years and this room has seen many iterations. Now this is solely an office that I can film in, but it's not a priority. Really in here is for me to be able to work and store stuff. So let's go through it all. All right, so this is the Pro Aim Victor Lite. This is our newest production cart. Honestly, really cool that I have this now. I really love using this. So basically my thought process behind buying this was when I'm going to a shoot, I wanna be able to load in gear, a lot of gear, but also still have a dedicated worktop for me. So this has been an amazing purchase, an amazing kind of thing to have in my arsenal. So what's cool about it is that this all collapses down, very small. It's basically this top shelf will invert and everything folds inside. On this cart though, we have built it out just a little bit. So I mean, it comes with the railings right here that you can buy their proprietary kind of hooks. But this is just a great spot to hang stuff, extension cords, stingers. And then over here, as I mentioned, I was a drummer at one point, so I had some drum hardware. This is from Gibraltar. They actually don't sell this that much anymore. It's very hard to find at Guitar Center. You have to like specialty order it. But by putting these tom arms with these combo clamps, then you can put C-stands here on the side, or if I put them oriented on this side, I could put tripods, yet it'll still fit between doors. And then we have my cameraman's camera bag on there. I do want to get that camera bag. It's the Wander PVRK. What is it? It's called the Provoke. Provoke. The Wander Provoke. He corrected me. The Wander Provoke camera bag. So really cool bag. I actually am excited to get my hands on it. I'm just waiting for the color I want to come in stock, but I'm excited for that. Can't forget your Robo Cups. So these things, it's really cheap on Amazon, but basically you can squeeze it and it could clamp onto it. So, I mean, for example, we could clamp it on here, and now we have a dedicated spot to put our drinks on a shoot, and then we keep our worktop clean. Connor and I actually are crazy enough to take this to wedding days, and so, like I said, the coolest thing is knowing that whether we're in a closet, we're in a random room, or we're just in the hallway, we will always have a dedicated spot to put cameras, lenses, balance our Ronins on there. All right, so then moving on into this corner, this is an accent wall. Really no motivation to it. I saw this cool design of a different brand using it. So basically, it's supposed to look like a slot machine, which kind of fits into my personality. I like to play poker. I would love to go to Las Vegas one day. But we have a cool design of SyncID cut with the vinyl Cricut cutter. And then above that, this is a Godox diffuser. This is 55 by 14. Originally, I had bought these, they come in a set of two, bought these for product videos. So attached to that is the ever classic Godox SL60W. Not a light that I actually would recommend nowadays. You can get much better and cheaper lights. Amaran makes great products. But when I bought my RS2, the dude was tossing it in, so I might as well have taken it, which I did, and it sat in storage until I kind of repurposed it to light up this wall. But down here we have the one wheel. This is honestly one of my favorite tools. When you're shooting handheld or when you're even shooting on a gimbal, adds an extra element of stability. Fun to have on its own, but also really cool tool for filmmaking purposes. Just be careful on that. I did break my collarbone while riding the one wheel, but if you wear your proper protection and you're not a doofus like me while you're riding it, I think you guys will be just fine. But over here, really, the newest addition to this office was the kind of backpack. So these two aren't too special. This is my pickleball. I'm killer at pickleball, cut to footage. And then fishing, so really good at fishing. Ask anybody, ask any of my friends. I catch the most fish and I'm probably beating them in pickleball. But over here we have the two main backpacks that I'm working with right now. So the original backpack, the Low Pro Protectic 450 AW. This was popularized by Peter McKinnon, and for great reason. This backpack is honestly so cool. I took out the back kind of portion. There is a waist strap that you can have. Took that out, but this one is what I call my long-term travel backpack. This thing is super deep. This was originally able to fit two 1DXs standing up, and a plethora of EF lenses, but now I can fit almost all of my Sony cameras and almost all of my lenses and a drone in here, and just carry that, toss it in the backpack, and be on my way. But like I said, this one is kind of big for my purposes. I think it's 35 liters. Don't quote me on that, but it's a really big backpack to be everyday carrying. So then we move to the Peter McKinnon Nomadic backpack. So this backpack is my everyday backpack. I love the easy access to your laptop compartment right there. The padding feels great, great build quality. Honestly, I thought it'd be a gimmick, but the magnetic water bottle holders are actually sick. But this can hold camera gear, except it's only gonna be for like one body, one lens. Maybe you're going on a family trip and you just wanna bring a light setup, but you're not gonna be packing for a whole excursion with this backpack. You'd pick something like the Low Pro. All right, so continuing on, in this corner, just a simple fake plant. I think I got it from AC Moore or Marshall's, a local arts and crafts store. But the thing I wanted to highlight in here, if I can take it out, are these tube lights. I did a review on these way back when I started out my channel. These are my favorite tube lights. These are the FTF corner tube lights. They're really tall. They're about 57 inches and they're very slim and they can freestand. So you guys will see I have some other tube lights from more filmmaking-esque lighting companies, but this is from Amazon. It's a 75 bucks right now because it's on sale. But what's cool is I can change the color temperature, so I can have a cool white, I can have a like 2700, and then I can do something more in between at like a 4000. But I actually really love these lights much more than any tube lights I've owned. I have like 4 or 5 of these around the studio. What's cool about this is that when you're sitting at a desk, this is an easy place, and there's your hair light, right? You can have it in frame, you can have it out of frame. But if you have like a mist filter, this halates beautifully. Not too much, and it's not too strong, but I love the look of it. So right now I have it in the corner just as a little accent light. So like the corner gets kind of dark, and so I have this here, and just adds a little bit of warmth in here. All right, so then that brings us to the main kind of thing, the main area where I spend most of my time. So this is the desk. So starting off, we have over here my beautiful Shure SM7B. I love this microphone. There's nothing about it that I hate, and it just looks so good on camera. So, but it's mounted on the Rode PSA 1 arm with the cloud lifter, running into a Focusrite Scarlett Solo USB interface. I love using this mic whether I'm taking meetings, I'm filming talking heads, showing how to edit something right here. I just love the sound of the SM7B. It is kind of flat, but with a little bit of EQ, parametric equalizer is what I use. It sounds great. You boost those highs a little bit and you're golden. So then that brings us to the monitor. So it's a huge monitor. It's a 42-inch LG OLED C3 monitor. I didn't think I'd like it as much, but when you're editing on an OLED, and hear me out, I've tried the Apple Pro Display XDR, I've tried the Studio Display, and nothing beats the dark and deep blacks and bright whites that you get on an OLED. Yes, it is a TV, and yes, you still kind of get some input lag from it, but the benefits of being able to see what you see with this monitor is absolutely insane. But yeah, love that. The only con is you still have to turn it on and off with the remote and select the input every time I boot my computer on, but I did calibrate the monitor, so now it's pretty color accurate as well. But that brings me to my newest kind of editing machine, which is the MacBook Pro M1 Pro. This thing is a beast. If you don't own a MacBook Pro, at least M1, you should definitely upgrade. I think the benefits are much better. This thing can handle not only Sony footage, which usually is able to run on any computer, but this was able to handle RED footage, Canon C70 footage, which is a terrible codec. This was even able to handle 1DX Mark II footage, which is even worse of a codec. So if it can handle those, it can definitely handle anything you need it to. And let's not forget that you have full-size HDMI. As someone that's very active in youth group, I teach on Sundays, being able to just plug this in straight up to the TV and not have to worry about an adapter makes my life so much easier. But attached to that is my new favorite kind of hard drives, and I have like 7 of them, but they are the Samsung T7 drives. I only own the 2 terabyte versions because 2 terabytes is the middle for me. 1 terabyte might be too little, but 2 terabytes I can hold about 2 weddings or a couple commercial shoots on. They are crazy fast. I've never had an issue with them, and I absolutely love these things enough that I own 8 of them. Zooming out, we have the desk itself. I was out shopping for some fake plants, and I always like to stop by the IKEA like as is section, and this desk was on it. Basically, this desk is a 65-inch by 30-inch desk, white top, black legs, is $90 right now. So the tabletop is $30, the legs are $60. And what's cool about it is it's much more stable than my old desk ever was gonna be. And I love that the white complements the slat walls in the back. It's honestly a killer of a deal, so I couldn't pass up on it. So I have this one, and you guys will see I have another smaller one, 47-inch upstairs. So the last thing I wanna highlight at the desk is my G Technology drive. So this is 72 terabytes, RAID 5, so it's actually like comes down to 16 or so terabytes of usable space, but it's in RAID 5. Absolutely love these things. Now be aware that they're not really designed for PCs. You do have to worry about like firmware updates and compatibility issues when it comes to using it with a PC. Usually I can store 1 year's worth of weddings and shoots, and then I offload it onto another drive, my 144 terabytes, that I just slowly add year by year. I've yet to fill up even half of it yet. So this is kind of my long-term storage solution. And then down here, I do have a custom built PC. I'll leave the specs down in the description, but it's really not that good in today's sake. I just keep it around because I still do a little bit of gaming. So that brings us to the workbench. And so when I was building out this workbench, I took this idea from Parker Walbeck and Jason Morris. But this is honestly the coolest thing I've ever put in any of my studio spaces. So basically, it's a Home Depot storage rack that we put some 2x4s on in the back, screwed in these pegboards, and then also added a little power strip, and then replaced some of the shelves. You can see later on in the B-roll, but these shelves have these cheap wire racks. They're not really good for working on. So grab some 1/2-inch plywood, put that on for the main kind of workbench tabletop, and this has been just absolutely a beauty. But with all the gear out here, I live kind of by one rule. So a guy named Adam Savage, you guys may know him from Mythbusters, he lives by one kind of rule in his workshop, which is first order of retrievability, meaning that you should never have to go and look behind something to be able to see it. So basically saying that everything should be viewable at a glance. So you'll see that I don't have many things stacked behind each other, and if they are, they're still viewable from the top. So that's kind of the idea for this. So at the very top, you guys will see in the B-roll is that it's just storage cases and stuff. Up here, I have these totes from Home Depot. These 3 are actually concert lighting, so like moving heads and wash fixtures for my youth group. And then down here is Pelican's cases. So Pelican case number 1 is always going to be ready for us to go on a shoot. So I grabbed that case out and I load it up with lenses and cameras, and I'm ready to go. So it's always set. And I use the Trek Pack dividers for that. Pelican case number 2 actually has our Aperture LS60Xs. Love those lights. Those are great wedding lights. You're able to spot and flood them. And I've never looked back for weddings, so love these Aperture lights. Pelican case number 3 has everything FPV related, so goggles, batteries, controller. And then these 2 unmarked cases are actually from Harbor Freight. And these have uplights also for youth group. And then down here at the very, very bottom, you guys will see all these milk crates. So we have our spotlight mount, our 600Cs, our miscellaneous stingers in here, grip equipment. I honestly didn't ever think I love milk crates as much as they are, but the whole fact that you can fit a 600C Pro into one of these crates, and it's much smaller than the Aperture case up here, is a godsend. And that they stack together and they fit into the truck bed beautifully. I can stack 2 of these up high and then close the tonneau cover on my truck bed. Yeah, so let's dive into things. So on the actual workbench, so this is cameras and lenses. So like I said, we have the 144 terabyte G Technology just sitting over here. I don't plug it in all the time, but over here we have our lenses. So we have 2 70-200s f4 macros with the Polar Pro base plates on it. You guys saw my review on that. Absolutely love these lenses. These are really just for our ceremonies. So zoom in, bride and groom angle, and then they're nice and compact. This is why I went with the f4, is that it's so small and light. Compared to if I went 2.8, you'd be looking at a lens that big. So f4 for the win, especially if you have a camera with dual native ISO. Then we have 85 G Master 1.4. We have my newest lens, which is the Nisi Athena Primes. Full review coming out on this soon, but absolutely love this lens. And I'm excited to get the rest of them. Connor behind the camera knows I'm on a quest to eventually have the full set. And then we have the 50 G Master 1.4. Connor is filming me on my 14mm f1.8. Love how wide this lens is. And then the newest addition is some L mount lenses. So we have an Sigma 24-70, but in the L mount version. We have the L mount 85mm. You guys will learn one day that 85 is my cup of tea. I could film literally any event, any wedding on 85 and be okay with it. The compression you get is just so beautiful. It's better than 50. It isolates the subject and you get that beautiful creamy bokeh in the back. And then we also have the 20-60. This is like the kit lens that comes with a lot of Lumix cameras, but it's good to have. Still really light, really versatile. Much easier to carry this than a 24-70. Even this is zoomed in, so say you're at 70 and you try to carry it. So it's a big difference. And so as much as I love carrying this lens around, sometimes when I'm traveling, this lens is just gonna be smaller and lighter. And then my favorite lens recently for photography is the Pocket Dispo lens. This was a nice like $50 lens, and it actually is really cool. So they basically just took a disposable lens and then put it into a 3D printed kind of case or body cap for it, and then shipped it off to you for 50 bucks. So cool lens. All right, so then moving on, we have our filters. So these are, like I said, the Helix Mag Lock. We have 2 of the Peter McKinnon VNDs and then 2 of my Short Stash everyday filters. This thing is sick. If you guys don't own one, I've told all my friends about it and they've all purchased them now, especially the guy behind the camera. He loves his filter, and so do I. So that's why I have 2 of them. Some other cleaning supplies, and then the camera. So the smallest camera I have is the GoPro Hero 12 that I shattered. This is the screen doesn't work anymore. This is because I learned FPV recently. Video coming out soon on it, but yep, this camera's destroyed, so gonna be getting a new one soon. Then we have the Sony a7 IV. This is really a C camera and great photography camera for the few times I am doing photos. Then behind that is the Panasonic S5 IIX. This shoots 6K open gate. That's all I needed to hear, and I purchased it. And so loving and testing out this camera right now. And I love that I can just shoot straight to an SSD. 6K open gate is honestly a godsend for talking heads. And then we have our main workhorses, the FX3. As you guys know, I switched to Sony earlier this year, and so the FX3s have been my workhorse. I have the small rig cage on it. I actually have a small rig cage for each of these cameras, but absolutely love this. 4K 60, great autofocus, IBIS, S-Log3. What more can you ask for? And a small body and a small form factor body. So love the FX3s. I have 2 of those. So then we have the RS4 Pro. So I went from 2 RS2s to 1 RS4. Now that I don't really have a team, I kind of just freelance with people. I don't need multiples of all this gear, but I absolutely love this RS4. Has better stabilization algorithm, has the self-locking axes, which is a gimmick. Honestly, you can go without it. I can still do it manually just fine. But really what I got the RS4 Pro for was the LiDAR system. And then I realized that it is always out of stock. So once I get the autofocus LiDAR system, I will let you guys know how it is. But have the gimbal for now. And I love that you can also take off this plate and put it in vertically. So then you go from horizontal to vertical shooting like nobody's business. But when you stick something like 6K open gate on there, you don't have to worry about either. I moved away from glide cams once I switched over to Sony. Glide cams are really good for heavy cameras, which Sonys are not. Like you can use a glide cam perfectly on any Canon camera or a Red or an Arri. But when you move into small form factors, a Ronin is honestly just much better. So we have a Zoom H6 audio recorder. And then my main kind of drone is the DJI Mavic 3 Pro. I honestly love this drone. I don't see myself changing drones, but having 3 lenses is honestly phenomenal. When you switch to 3 times or 7 times zoom and you're doing a parallax, the background moves faster than the foreground. It is a really cool effect that before this was not really achievable unless you shot on the Inspire 2 or even had a shot over a helicopter. Then we have something else that I didn't ever think I'd buy, but is the Peak Design travel tripod. This tripod is really small. It's literally the same size as, say, like a Hydro Flask, but it is still very portable. I used this on my trip to Utah and absolutely loved carrying this around. It has a built-in Arca Swiss, so I can easily slap on my FX3 with their cages and put it right onto here with no problem. What I do love about this is its portability. What I don't like about this is necessarily once you extend all these legs out, it is a little wobbly, but as long as you're not really pushing it too much, then you could be okay. So then we have our FPV drones. So I have two drones here. This is my Gep RC Cinelog 35 Cinewhoop, and then we have my Nazgul 5. This is a racing drone. So these are 5-inch props, and these are 3-inch props. And so two different types of drones that you can be flying with. This one's great for aerobatics and for wide open areas, going down mountains, whereas this one's gonna be flying near people or things that can get damaged. And so with these fenders, you're less likely to take somebody's head off. Like I said, full video coming out on how to be an FPV pilot, what to even buy, what to learn, where you should start, the tips I recommend. So be on the lookout for that video. Absolutely love these two drones, recommend them. And these were pretty highly recommended on YouTube when I was doing some research. So love these two. And then over here is only just a bunch of miscellaneous. We have XLR cables, gaff tape, more grip stuff, bongo ties, cables. None of this really, it's just small miscellaneous filming parts. The more you do filmmaking, the more things you realize there's small little knickknacks you have to keep track of. And so being able to hang stuff up, or like down here, for all my camera grips, so we have like 1/4-20s, 3/8, baby pins, NATO rails. Just buy a little case like this. This is a like fishing tackle box. Put it in there and you're set to go. That way you don't have to always keep track of these small little parts. So then over here we have our chargers. And so I love this specific power strip in that no matter what size my plug is, I'll be able to fit them. So I can have a small one, a fat one of those odd shaped plugs. I'm always able to fit it here. But we have all of our chargers ready. Anything that's ever charging is always on here. And anything that is charged goes in my newest addition. Oh God. Which is this little tool chest. So I am a handyman on the side, so I have a bunch of these kind of craftsman cases, but in here we have all of our charged batteries. So Sony NPFs, boom, V mounts, boom, DJI, Panasonic batteries, and Sony batteries. Sometimes I even toss in some AA's. But what's cool is that I can put all my batteries in there, lock it up, toss this on the truck, toss this on the cart, and be on my way. So at a shoot, all we have to do is open this up and grab a battery out, and we know that if it's in here, it's charged. And say one day you're like, hey, I don't need all these batteries. Well, cool. Grab this little box, place that into the Pelican case, and be done. So this is a new thing I'm trying out. And so we'll see kind of an update and see how that goes. But so far, I'm loving that. All right, so that is everything down here in the office, but let's head upstairs to the second part of the studio. All right, and welcome to Studio 2. So this is the upstairs spare bedroom now. This room is really dedicated to just shooting. There's no desk, there's no nothing. In here is purely lighting and grip equipment and backdrops. So jumping straight into things, we have right here kind of our just extra props. So I have like flower pots and tables, my old glide cams. Really, these aren't here to be used. These are just nice props, and they have a little bit of sentimental value. I love my HD 4000 Devon Graham Signature Series head combination. But like I said, I'm on Ronin now, so these don't really get much action in the field. Sandbags, always important to have, and my newest thing is Apple boxes. So I built these Apple boxes. This is just 1/2-inch plywood. About one sheet gets you about 3 of these boxes, and I have about 6 of them, and maybe about 2 hours of an afternoon, 3 hours if you're not handy around. But I'm handy enough to build these, and I love having Apple boxes. It's really good to prop stuff up. So whether that be talent or actual props, you'll see it in the office downstairs. I had this propped up in the corner to hold up the fake plant. There's never anything you can't prop up with an Apple box, and I love using it. So, but over here, black seamless paper. Again, another relic from when I used to do product videos. I don't shoot with this that often. but I have like 7 different color rolls. It is handy. I have it mounted on the wall to be able to go up and down. Paper seamless backdrops, useful, but not useful for me. I would say if you're gonna go the paper backdrop route, don't buy these 12-foot ones. They're really hard to move around. Luckily I had the truck by then, but these ones are kind of unwieldy to buy. Maybe the 9-foots or even the 5-foots might be more suitable for you. But then we have over here, C-stands, extra C-stands. I swear by Matthew C-stands. Those are the only C-stands that I kind of like to have. You'll see some other C-stands like Impact, and these are GVM stands. I got these way before, but Matthews are solid C-stands. They're much lighter than the average C-stand, but they can hold much more. So it's a great combination. And then I built this 8x12 faux slat wall. It's just temporarily put in here, but that kind of divides this room. That way on the back end, it was an odd shape, and so I wanted to just square off the set. So back there is now just storage. We'll cut to some B-roll back there. So I have the Amaran 200X with the Godox kind of lantern diffuser. Again, not something that I use often. That's why it kind of just sits here in the corner. I like having the ability to shoot with the lantern. I don't ever really find myself having to fill the space with light. I will say, I love these GVM stands. These are basically beefed up C-stands. They are turtle-based C-stands, and they also have this gigantic boom arm. And this boom arm can hold a 600C Pro boomed out with proper counterweights and stuff. But honestly, amazing build for not that expensive of a stand. In comparison, you'd have to buy something like a Matthews Mini Max or Menace arm. Really do like these lights. Highly recommend having at least 1, if not 2 of these. All right, so then we have my teleprompter. So this is the Glide Gear teleprompter sitting on a Manfrotto tripod. This is the 502 head with carbon fiber 055 X Pro B legs. And so on that, like I said, is the Glide Gear teleprompter. Didn't ever think I'd actually use this enough until I did some retainer work, and they had a lot of scripts they had to read. And so instead of holding up my iPad to them in front of the camera, I just bought a teleprompter. And I can't say anything bad about the Glide Gear. It's great for the price. You're not overpaying for a teleprompter. And if you already have an iPad like this, then it works plenty fine. And then after that is Karen. This is my TV on wheels. And so when I moved into my apartment in college, one of the signing bonuses was get a free TV. So bought a TV, and I also bought a rolling C-stand, mounted it to the C-stand, and now it is a big monitor. So whenever I'm filming, instead of looking at a tiny monitor, I just plug it up via HDMI to the camera, and now I have like a 30-inch, 32-inch kind of screen to see myself. Now, it isn't good for color accuracy. You still want to make sure that you're checking your actual camera monitor, but for framing, this works perfect. And so, great addition for the studio. I love that I can just roll it around and get it out the way. So then that brings us to kind of my talking headset, because we'll see this in my FPV video. So what's cool about this room, and with any space that I ever try to build out, is that I want it to be able to have multiple sets. So we have the black wall, which is just painted little black dress. And then we have a slat wall right here. That's just some 1x2 furring strips stained. And I nailed that to some plywood, painted tricorn black by Sherwin-Williams, and then put that up on that faux wall. And so I can shoot straight directly to the wall behind me, straight onto the slat wall, onto the paper wall, shoot into the corners of either of these sets, and there's always some variety that I can do. So I basically built this kind of area to be ready to shoot at a moment's glance. And so up here we have the Rode NTG3 on the K-Tech boom pole. I really love the NTG3. It has a nice kind of low-end bounce to it, so it picks up really well for my voice and for most voices. And for the price, it's a great boom mic. A lot of people say they love the MKE 416. I would love to get that microphone, or the Sheps CMIT shotgun microphone. Right now, I don't use a shotgun mic enough to warrant buying a very nice one. So the NTG3 it is. And then up here behind it is another GVM stand. So what's cool about this one is it's always gonna be ready for an overhead. So on that stand, I have a little Westcott little ball thing that I can screw my camera into, and then it'll move around, and I'll always have an overhead cam. So this is great enough to hold something like an FX3, but something like a C70, C80, like a Pixis, I'd be a little nervous with this setup. But like I said, I'm shooting on Sony, so I don't have to worry about that. And then, of course, another SM7B. This one is on a little Samsung desk stand. I like the look of this when I'm talking to camera more. Something about it just feels more natural versus seeing the boom arm come into frame. But there is kind of that caveat in that whenever I have something that I'm talking about, this kind of intrudes in my space. So if it's something big, I like to just move this out the way and use the NTG3. But like I said, just like downstairs, this is another IKEA Bacant. This one's like 47 or 45 inches. Love the white tabletop, and I could always slap on some paper or some other type of kind of table dressing to spice up the view. And then my IKEA Fejkas. I love these little things. If you ever need to spice up anything in your image, buy some fake plants and you'll be set. So like I said, what's cool about this set is that whatever I'm feeling that day, I can make it happen. So behind me, you guys see I have some Nanlite Pavo tubes. And so, like I said earlier in the tour, is that I love these lights, except that when you want them to just be vertical, then they are terribly and ridiculously hard to rig up. But what's cool about these is that they are RGB WW. I can do any color. They can do pixel mapping. And so great lights, but like I said, sometimes it's not what I want. But I have the ability to have these kind of be on either side of me when I'm talking to camera. This one's dead. And then underneath, I have kind of a blue tube light back there. Another Nanlite Pavo tube uplighting that black wall. Say, for example, I'm not feeling it that day. I just come down here, I turn off this Pavo tube, turn off this Pavo tube, move them out of frame, of course. And then when I sit back down, I'll have a black backdrop. Or as you guys can see, kind of in the background, we'll cut to some B-roll too. If say I don't want just a black wall, I could toss a gobo up there. All right, so the last thing up here is my key light. So this is a 5-foot octabox. I love big diffusers. So anything about lighting that you can learn. The bigger the source and the closer it is to your subject, the softer it will be. So this is 5 foot and I have it maybe 2 feet from me, and it's just gonna wrap my face beautifully with that light. But basically this is being attached to one of 2 Aperture 600C Pros. But cool thing about RGB WW lights is that you can green magenta shift your color temperature. So as the LED tends to age, it's going to have a shift green or magenta. And so with these lights, I can shift it back to make sure it's an exact neutral white. And then on the other side of this big diffuser, I have another 600C Pro with the Godox spotlight mount. Like I said, I love the spotlight mount. Gobos are so handy. You can cut it, you can put different gobos to mimic windows or shapes, and I absolutely recommend owning a gobo in your lighting arsenal. And that is the Home Studio Tour 2024. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, I'll be sure to link anything I mentioned in today's video down in the description below, kit.co/syncastproductions. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.